Whether it's strategically staggering your open house invitations to maximize the amount of free food that you get, or getting your left and right hands to work together on guitar, coordination is a very important component in just life skills. So today we're going to talk about what I think is one of the more underrated and under-practiced kind of components in guitar, and that's going to be really working on getting your left and right hands together to create like a palm muting type kind of vibe exercise that really we're gonna fold a lot of different concepts together into this one lesson. So the example that I came up with to illustrate this is going to sound like this. Okay, so this is kind of like a real like. We got a couple of different things going on. We have an interesting chord voicing that maybe you're not used to. We have some palm muting technique, but something that is very heavy on the rhythm while also incorporating some kind of percussive melodic things as well, okay? So I'm rocking out the Cort Gold A6. They sponsored this video, so check this out. Really great sounding guitar. I'm going to link it in the description if you guys are interested. But we're starting with this D major-ish chord, okay? Now, maybe, I'm sure you've seen this C major chord, right? Where you have your ring finger on 3A, middle finger 2D, open G, pointer finger 1B. Now C/G, right? Is this chord right here, where your ring finger goes to the G on the E string and your pinky grabs the C on the A string. So it's 3E, 3A, 2D, open G, 1B, open E. Okay? Now, using this particular voicing is very important. Maybe you've never used slash chords before. We're going to talk about why this is a big component of what we're doing in a second. But this is going to be the voicing we're using as a C major chord, C/G. All that means is C is the chord, G is the bass note. All right? Now we can move this 2 frets higher. And we're getting what I'm thinking of as a D major chord. Now, you know, we can come with a different name for this, but anytime you see a D major chord, you can use this same shape up and down, okay? So we're gonna actually start on the D chord. Okay? Now, we've got a couple things going on here, all right? First thing I want to talk about is the palm muting, the percussive nature of what's happening. Now, the reason that we're using this slash chord is because I want to get the lower 3 strings to really help us out. If you're accompanying someone on acoustic guitar or electric guitar, whatever, one of the important things about kind of getting palm muting in place to make it sound kind of musical is really to utilize all 6 strings, specifically the lower ones. Once you really get, you know, I don't even have to, I'm going to avoid the highest 3 strings. I'm just hitting the lowest 3 strings. And the nice thing about guitar is like the range where this will sit with like a vocal, whether it's male or female vocal, is it's really going to add enough bass where it's not generally overpowering a person's vocal, depending on how loud and dynamic they are. But it is kind of adding that what you're missing out from maybe like having a bass guitar in a full band setting. So that's why it's really important to do these slash chords and know that whatever your root is, whether it's major or minor, usually the string right below it, same fret, is going to be in that same chord because this is really just the 5th of a chord. If the numbering system, like words like a 5th or a major 3rd, confuse you, definitely check out my Patreon. I go through that in a lot more detail, but we're going to assume that you know what a root and its 5th sounds like. And then just palm muting in general. I've done other videos on just kind of like an intro to palm muting, which maybe I will link you to if you don't know anything about palm muting. But we're essentially taking the side of our hand, so not really the palm, judo chopping near the bridge, where the strings kind of meet the bridge, right? And then deadening the strings. So instead of getting a sustained sound, we're deadening it. Okay? A lot of people will practice chords sustained. So if they were to practice a D to a C in this way, sounds great, but see how I have to like yell over top of this to really have myself be heard? Imagine if you're a singer with like a softer voice, it's really hard to do that. So that's when you bring the whole level down. I can speak at a more comfortable voice. I could sing at a voice that might be, you know, my style. And I can also take a song in a different direction. A lot of songs nowadays are only a couple of different chords, and they never change chord progressions. They just repeat. So one way that you can flesh them out and make acoustic representations of them is to do those same chords, but maybe for the verses, you want to palm mute it, bring it down, and then for the choruses, open it up and sustain it, okay? But again, back to just like those lower 3 strings. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm jumping into the string set with my hand, and I'm picking it at the same time. I remember when I first tried doing this, I was so bad at it. I was awful at it. I could not have that pick move in time with my hand hitting the bridge, okay? So, a good thing to practice is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. See how I'm kind of, with my thumb and my forefinger, I'm kind of strumming at the same time I'm landing. It's the same action as if you're just picking. One great way to do this is just to practice like the major scale. See how I'm muting it? Instead of just dig into the string set. It's the same kind of action, right? As a pick, but now I'm doing it more of a strum way. I'm also using my fretting hand to let go. See? You can see, as soon as I get the hit that I want, I'm coming off the strings without leaving the strings. Okay, so that's an interesting way of kind of like keeping yourself in time, because if everything is sustained, I've seen this with a lot of students, and I'm sure I was guilty of myself when I first started out, all that sustained open string sound kind of jumbles together, and I wasn't able to hear myself arriving at the next chord on time. So I was more just kind of taking a stab at hitting the downbeat. When you really deaden the strings like that with the palm mute, you can so clearly hear the beat that you're on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. See? If I'm out of time, I hear it so much more clearly. So this will help your timing because, again, you're just going to give your ears more of that feedback in real time while you're playing, okay? It might actually help you slow down the tempo at which you're playing to make sure you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now what I just did there, I left the string before the downbeat of the next change. Okay, this is another really important thing about kind of playing in time and just making things sound good, because regardless of this is a relatively small change. I can keep the same hand position. I'm not going too far away. I'm just going a whole step back and forth, 2 frets higher or lower. So this isn't as hard as maybe, getting a totally different chord shape or something and that you might do in another song. But it's still hard to arrive at the next chord on a downbeat. So maybe on the 4th beat of the 2nd bar, I'm going to leave early. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm exaggerating it. And because I'm palm muting it, I'm really just getting like a percussive hit that is buying my fretting hand more time to get to the next chord, whatever that change may be, okay? It could be way all over the place. Like I said, if you just focus on the bottom 3 strings, the lowest 3 strings, this just becomes a major chord voicing for anything, where the A string is your bass note. So this could be a C, this could be a D. The other major chord that would go with these 2 chords is generally a G major, but instead of playing this as a different hand shape, I can just find the G on the A string. Happens to be the 10th fret right here. Right? So I can go C, D, G, C, D, G. And because I'm muting it and I'm not getting the open strings, I can still get the open strings if I want. G, B, C. It's gonna sound good. And again, it just becomes a movable chord voicing. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. So, there's a lot of value in, I think, this particular chord voicing because, like I said, you're getting a lot of the lower bassier part of an acoustic guitar. And I think the D major chord is one that really just really has a lot of value to learn because this chord voicing, as great as it is, it's lacking a little bit of that low end that maybe a big C or a G chord. Right? You lose a lot of volume with this. That's why a lot of people play that slash chord with the F sharp in the bass to kind of get some of that bassness going. But I personally prefer the sound of this, where it's a D and it's fifth in the bass, instead of a D and it's major third in the bass. Again, you know, that's just taste. That's not a right or a wrong way to think. This is great in a lot of situations. But I just find myself gravitating more towards this as a D major chord that I use in acoustic accompaniment situations. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add hammer-ons to the chord voicings that we've already done, and to try to do them in a percussive musical way. All right. So we've already talked about maybe getting like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to C, leaving one beat early and getting that open string set. Now, these are all downstrokes. Okay. So the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna keep my ring finger and my pinky just kind of like locked into this position, getting those bass notes, the meat of this chord. Okay, and now I'm gonna use my middle finger and my pointer finger to kind of work together with my strumming hand to do these hammer-on pull-off type deals, all right? Now the great thing about the key that we're in, we're thinking in the key of G, all the open strings are in this key. So all the open strings are fair game in helping us out with what we're doing, all right? So when we're getting this, see I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and maybe that second group before. There's that thing where I'm kind of attacking the strings but leaving the high end open. You're naturally gonna be able to have a little bit of leeway on the highest three strings because, again, the average human hand has what I would consider a difficult time muting all 6 strings in one position easily. I guess if you really dig in, like if I were just to keep my right hand static on the bridge, you know, and then try to do, see, there's sustain. That's why I kind of have to dig in to mute those higher strings. I have to move my hand a little bit as I'm going through the string set. But when you're kind of locked in, you're getting a little bit of open top end, okay? So I think that's really something that you can use to your advantage because I'm still getting the percussive nature of this strumming, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? Like again, that 4 and the and of 4 is where I'm gonna make that change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. See how this is really just it's a metronome, right? In and of itself, I'm just kind of hitting there, keeping the time, keeping the tempo. Then you add the left hand. That second bar there is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You get that hammer on. See how that works? I'm getting the meat of the chord with the palm mute, but then getting a little bit of a sustained top end, and then hammering it home with these 2 fingers to kind of get that C major sound. Okay? Now, how aggressively you do it is up to you. See, barely any sound there because I was really digging into the top end with my palm. Right there, I'm opening up the top end by just digging into the lower 3 strings. And I think one of the things that you may find yourself doing is maybe gripping your fretting hand a little harder than you even need to, because there's something about that coordination that I talked about, right? Just like finding the best things at an open house. By the way, if you're too old and you don't know any high school graduates that have an open house, just look for balloons, walk in, there's gonna be a plaque of somebody's name and be like, oh, Kevin, man, how do you know Kevin? You find a stranger at the open house, be like, oh, how do you know Kevin? They will invariably give you information for how you know Kevin, and then you just say, either you're a friend of the family if they are not, or if they are a friend of the family, say that you're a friend of a friend, and then you get invited to future open houses. This is a free pro tip. You don't even have to sign up for the Patreon for this. I've done this many times. No joke. Some of the best summers of my life were just crashing open houses because everybody's in a good mood. As long as you don't look super creepy, just be approachable, make conversation, get some free food, and bounce. It's good to bring a card, maybe bring $10, you know what I mean? Again, it's worth it in the end. What was I saying? I have no idea. But basically, leaving that top end open. Okay? It's all about that combination, that coordination of hitting the strings at the same time that you hit your palm into the bridge. That way you don't have to keep your hand on the bridge the whole time. Now again, there's a time and a place for that too. Maybe if you want to just play like... My hand is not leaving the bridge. See how like much more quiet that is? But it's a totally different vibe. You know, you can still make a groove. But when you can hear the percussive. You kind of get that chick, 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 chick. You get that percussive nature that really sounds great on an acoustic guitar, especially this great. I'm really loving this. This Cort is just rising the ranks of my favorite guitar. So definitely, if you're in the market for an awesome acoustic guitar that isn't a lot of money, give this one a look. Again, it just has a different. I don't want to say it sounds better when you do that more active thing. There was a time and a place for both of them. But you want to be able to have those speeds that you can change to. So anyways, it's something I wanted to talk about because, like I said, it's very under-practiced. Getting good well-timed palm muting in with chords while still keeping some kind of melodic content that's easy to do on the top end of these chords. They're just 2 fingers, hammer-ons and pull-offs. And then just kind of like building that timing with your left and your right hand. And eventually you'll find yourself slipping out of time less and less because the physicality of hitting those strings at the same time with your palm and your pick or, your fingers, same difference. That physicality kind of just, becomes ingrained in your muscle memory and then you just start feeling the groove. So thanks again to Cort for sponsoring this guitar lesson. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.